Hello there. Welcome to the new player guide to Retail World of Warcraft, Episode 1, Season 3 of The War Within. Season 3 just went live yesterday, August 5th on NA, and today, August 6th on European servers. With Season 3 came a whole new raid, a whole selection of dungeons. The full width of dungeons and the highest raid difficulties actually don't go live until the 12th, which gives us a little bit of time to start up a new series and start a new character. So for those that watched season 2, first couple episodes will probably be a little bit of a repeat. So if you're new to the channel and you're starting here, what I did in season 2 was I started a brand new account for Retail World of Warcraft. We leveled a character from level 10 to level 80, or sorry, level 1 to level 80. We chose that character's class and faction based completely randomly. And our goal was to get 2K IO, 2K Mythic Plus ranking, and the ahead of the curve achievement. Sorry, 3K Mythic Plus ranking. We weren't able to achieve that goal, and therefore we deleted that character. So we're going to start again fresh a bit earlier into this season, season 3, than we did into season 2. And our goal in this video series will be a 0 to hero challenge, taking a fresh character from no Raider IO score, no Mythic Plus ranking to the 3,000 mark, and getting the ahead of the curve achievement with as little help as possible for many of my friends or anything like that. No gold. The gold that's in my warband is going to be off limits. Last time we did it with a totally separate account, so that wasn't a problem or a temptation for me. This time, we'll be doing it sort of on my main account, but we will be using a brand new, fresh character. So last time we started from level 1. And we walked through the Dragonflight campaign. So if you're starting out completely fresh, I'll leave a link in the description and at the end of the video on where to see and watch the Let's Play for the Dragonflight campaign and just like leveling up a character from the beginning. What I want to do this time is I want to show you what it would look like if you walked in, bought the War Within expansion. It comes with a level 70 boost. You've got friends, you want to play, like you want to get to max level as quick as possible. So I want to show you what that looks like. So what we're going to do here right at the start is we're going to pick our character and our class. So, okay. So what we did last time, we started, like I said, we started fresh, brand new, with a completely new account. So we didn't have access to things that we'll talk about, like certain classes and certain races, which we do have access to on my main account. But before we go into that, what we want to do is find out. Well, let's start with the create a character screen. So if you're brand new to World of Warcraft, you're starting here in season 3 of the War Within. You're going to load in. You're not going to have any of these characters on here. You're not going to have any max level tunes. You're just going to load into a nice cinematic, and you're going to load into a blank character selection screen, or you'll load into this create character screen. So I did this in the first episode, and I'll do it briefly again here. You won't have access to these races, so we'll keep them kind of off limits for this video. You likely won't have access to the Drakthir. You will have access to all but one class right away, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the classes in World of Warcraft are pretty straightforward. You have a lot of classes that you might see in other like fantasy based games like Dungeons and Dragons. You have Warrior, who is obviously a melee damage dealer. each class in World of Warcraft has different specializations. So a specialization is essentially a further enhancement of the class, and each class also has available different roles. So the roles in World of Warcraft are tank, DPS or a damage dealer, and then healer. 3 roles. It's called the Holy Trinity. There is a fourth semi-hidden role called support, but it's not required to complete the game, and it currently isn't very good. Each class, with the exception of Demon Hunter and the exception of Druid, has 3 specializations. So Druid has 4, Demon Hunter has 2. So for the Warrior, there are 2 damage specializations, Arms and Fury. 1 is 1 big weapon, 2 is 2 big weapons, and then their tank specialization, Protection Warrior. Then you have Hunter. They have 2 range DPS specializations and 1 melee DPS specialization. They can only do the DPS role. You have Mage, which is another only DPS. They have Arcane, Fire, and Frost specializations. Rogue is another only DPS. They have Assassination, Outlaw, and Subtlety. Priest has 2 healing specializations and 1 DPS, so Holy, Discipline, and Shadow. Warlock is a damage dealer only. They have Destruction, Demonology, and Affliction. Some classes, as you can see here, are restricted by race. So to be a paladin, we can be a Tauren or a Blood Elf. It'll show you which ones are available right here. So for Alliance, Dark Iron Dwarf, Draenei, Earthen Dwarf, Human, Regular Dwarf, Lightforged Draenei. It'll show you and it'll highlight up on the character selection screen which ones are available. So Paladin has all 3 roles available to them. They have Retribution, which is DPS, Protection, which is tank, and Holy, which is a healer. Druid has Balance, which is range damage, Feral, which is a cat and is melee damage, Restoration, which is healing, and Guardian, which is a bear and is tank specialization. Shaman has melee, range, and melee and range damage dealer and the healer specialization available, role. Their specializations are Elemental, which is ranged, Enhancement, which is melee, and Restoration, which is the healer spec. Monk is another triple threat here. So it has Windwalker, which is a melee DPS specialization, Mistweaver, which is a healing specialization, and Brewmaster, which is a tank specialization. Demon Hunter is the most restrictive. They can only be the elves, so Blood Elf for Horde and Night Elf for the Alliance. Demon Hunter has both melee, 1 tank, and 1 DPS, Vengeance and Havoc. And then finally, or almost finally, Death Knight. Death Knight has 2 melee DPS, Holy and Unholy and Frost, and 1 tank specialization, which is Blood. And then the newest class that came with Dragonflight is the Evoker. So the Evoker is healer or range damage in the roles. It's also where the new-ish support role is. So they have Augmentation, which is support and is range DPS. Devastation, which is pure range DPS. And then Preservation, which is the healer. Healer specialization. So just a brief overview. We'll talk a lot more about specializations when we get into the game. But from the character selection screen, you're going to have a lot of choices. Now, some of these classes are considered hero classes. So an Evoker, for example, when you log in as a brand new character, isn't going to be available until you level one of the core specializations up to level 10. So if whatever class we end up picking appeals to you and it does happen to be a hero specialization, you just go through the starter tutorial with something like a warrior or a hunter or whatever. Complete the starter tutorial, which is going to show you a lot of the basic game mechanics, and then you can come back to the character screen and re-roll. The starter tutorial for a brand new player, maybe a couple hours, maybe 1 if you're moving through it pretty quick. But I would definitely recommend, like, it teaches you a lot of like the fundamental things to look for in the world. So I would recommend, taking your time with that sort of new player tutorial. And then it'll bring you into level 10. Again, all of that was in the previous series for season 2. I'll leave a link in the description on how to access that and just start from fresh and watch what I do and follow along there. But we're going to start with a character boost, which is, I think, where most people are going to want to kind of like jump in and take a look at some stuff. So the first thing that we need to do is see what class we're going to be playing, which I leave up to random choice. So we're just going to go here and spin a wheel. So one thing that I did not do, a couple things that I changed about this wheel. You're not going to see Druid listed here because I'm planning on maining Druid myself personally in season 3, not for this series. And so I don't want to play just 2 Druids. That would just be a little tough for me, I think. Just doing the same thing over and over. So I removed Druid. I've also removed Rogue because I played Rogue in the season 2 video series. So I'm just limiting this for my own flavor. I said this at the start of the last one, and in the last one, I removed Evoker because I didn't want to have a hero class in there. So Evoker is back in, Rogue and Druid are out. And I said this last time, I'm really hoping for a class that can perform in different roles. Healer or tank would be great because that's going to help with some of the stuff that we're going to be doing. It's going to make our queue times a little bit faster. So without further ado, spin the wheel. Monk. Okay, this is cool. Monk is neat. They're in an interesting spot right now. This is going to give us access to all 3 roles. So we'll have physical, melee, DPS through Windwalker. Brewmaster will be the tank spec, and then Mistweaver will be the healing spec. As it stands right now, like nothing has really been decided at all in terms of like what the meta is going to look like. That being said, currently Brewmaster tank looks pretty good, so we can add in a tank perspective here. And then in raid, Mistweaver healing specialization looks pretty good. So we've got some options on what we can do. I'm looking forward to this. So this is going to be really cool. So if you did purchase the War Within expansion outright, you will get a level 70 character boost. If you're not interested in playing Evoker, you can actually back out of that create character screen, and in the top right, you should see this level 70 character boost. You can click that button and then click create new character. It'll bring you right back into that character creation. So Monk, let's see here. I have been playing a lot of dwarves, so I don't want to play a dwarf. I want to play something a little different, I think. We can really pick whatever race we want. Last time we played Horde, so I think this time we're going to play Alliance. And that gives us access to all of these races. I do want it to be semi-relatable, so I'm going to skip the allied races, so we can choose between human, night elf, gnome, Draenei. I think we're going to go with night elf for the monk. That could be cool. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So character creation, pretty straightforward. You pick your class, you pick your race. I mentioned it in the previous video, but races that you choose do have some implication or some positives and negatives and some restrictions depending on which race you choose. So they're called racial abilities, and some of them are passive and some of them are active. So for example, the night elf has a racial trait where they can fade into the shadows. It's called shadow meld. So that's an active ability that allows you to drop combat. They're more difficult to hit, which I don't know. what that translates into, but we'll take a look in game. They have an increased resistance to nature damage, faster movement while stealth, faster attacks at night, and faster or increased critical chance during the day. So those are all passive abilities. Things like dwarves, they can take on stone form, which will shed any negative effects like bleeds. That's a really good one. Both of these, night elf and dwarf, are really good in the game currently, but every race can have its like uniqueness to them. So I would just, unless you're doing like the top echelon of content, I wouldn't really worry about the race. I would come in, pick the one that looks cool to you, and kind of go in that direction. So character creation, you can customize what your character looks like. There's a bunch of different toggles and things that you can change. And then I didn't even think about this, but we'll have to pick a name. And one thing to know as you're creating your character, it does not completely matter what you pick here. There is an in-game barbershop that will allow you to change all of these appearance settings. Every single one of them can be changed. So we're just gonna go and pick a couple different things. I am kind of vibing with this like hairy guy. Like so let's see here. We'll keep the hairstyle, we'll keep the face, we'll get rid of, so beard is currently long. Mustache, go a little bit more groomed on the mustache. We'll make the sideburns way bigger. Love that. That sounds good. Eyebrows, huge, no blindfold, eyesight in both eyes, short ears, no markings, no scars, no vines. Sweet. We look cool. And then what I normally do for my naming convention, obviously, if you go by a screen name or a pen name, you can absolutely, pick whatever name you want. You can pick from the randomization. If you need, and then what I typically do is breakfast foods, but I drop a vowel. We're just gonna try a couple names here. Cereal. Nope, that's definitely not it. Pecan. Bacon it is. Bacon the monk. So what you would normally do here, and I'm actually not sure. I think it has us create a character first, and then we can go back and boost it. So this is a great, next step into like what you would be doing. Sorry, one second. So if you're a brand new player walking through Exile's Reach, great starter tutorial, updated recently, I think, for Battle for Azeroth. And it'll teach you about all the different parts of the game, how to like navigate with your map and doing quests and stuff like that. We'll explain about that as well. But the traditional leveling campaign is also in here. This will give you a little bit of like background on the Horde versus the Alliance, and then this one will give you a little cinematic about your race. Cool. Okay, it didn't actually send us in there, so we're going to use our boost. So we just click that button again. We choose the character that we just created, and it's going to have you choose your specialization. It used to recommend the damage specialization. This doesn't matter. You can pick. I mean, you should probably pick the damage one simply because you're going to want to start leveling, and that's going to give you the most damage to level with. I would never recommend leveling as a healer, and you could absolutely level as a tank, but it is maybe slightly slower. So we're just going to select Windwalker. We're going to hit next, and we're going to click level up. It says, "Are you sure?" We'll say yes. Blammo, level 70. So you can see we got a couple items dropped us in Stormwind with 10 gold. So let's log in to Bacon. Before we kind of dive into what's next, we're going to talk about a few things just sort of like up front and center.
All across Azeroth. We have reason to believe it's a warning of some. Meet me in Silithus.
Cool.
Perhaps
Awesome.
Azeroth's
Okay.
speaker can shed some light on what this.
So it looks like it gives us 463 item level stuff, which is not too bad. Gives us a ton of bags, which is really, really cool. It also has an adventures footlocker. So this is more weapons. So this is what I meant by the talent specialization doesn't matter. You can you'll get a bag that has intellect weapon for Mistweaver, and then it looks like I guess a two-handed staff for some reason. Brewmaster and Windwalker use the same weapons, and then a pristine survival kit, which had 5,000 gold, a healing potion, a mana potion, and some water and food. Sweet. So because we chose Alliance, we loaded into the faction capital. This is Stormwind. If you choose Horde, you'll log in over here in Orgrimmar. And it's going to start you off right away with a quest. So the quest is going to be for the War Within. It's going to be labeled as a campaign quest. You can see that up in the right-hand corner. And you're not going to see all of these specific things. You'll see more of a baseline user interface. So you can go back and take a look at one of my other videos in the original series about configuring a UI, but I'll briefly talk about some of the words that you'll hear from players. So UI, obviously, that's user interface. What you can't see down in the bottom left is a little chat blocker, or sorry, a little chat box. So I'm just going to pull that up really quick so you can see what that looks like. Bacon, character specific. So you'll have access to a bunch of different chat channels, essentially. And one of them in a major city is going to be the trade chat channel. You can see here. The other one that it's going to load in for players, which I don't think it should by default, is the trade services. This is for like boosting services. So I would recommend /leave 4, which is going to leave that trade channel. That services trade channel. We want to stay in the main trade channel, but I'm just going to hide this chat channel for now, but that's one thing that you will see that's kind of hidden in this UI. The other things that you'll see up on the screen are going to be like my health and my target's health, because I just clicked on myself, but you can see here. Down in the bottom right, I have what are called damage meters. So these are, it's an add-on. It's an additional plugin essentially for the game that you can download on a website called CurseForge, or you can use add-on installers In the middle of my screen, I have another add-on. These are called weak auras. These are basically customizable buttons that you can, sorry, not customizable buttons, customizable timers that you can use to track certain abilities, like energy or chi if you're a monk. And then you can also track certain cooldowns, which are abilities. So, and then down at the bottom, I have some action buttons here. So I also use an add-on for my action buttons. It's called Bartender. So I'll give you a brief list of the add-ons that I use in my UI. I use Auctionator for the auction house. We'll talk about that later. I use saved instances, but I don't need this one anymore. I use an add-on for my bags called Baginator and another add-on called Simple Item Level, which I actually don't think that I need anymore. We don't have to talk about the liquid ones. We don't have to talk about craft scan. We're not going to be doing any crafting. We don't really have to talk about warp deplete. We don't have to talk about the liquid aura updater or the timeline reminders. Bartender is what we use for our action bars. That's what this section is down here. It's action bars. Better character panel is what I use to improve my character panel, which is what we opened up to see what our item level was. Bigwigs are boss mods, so they tell you timers about certain bosses. Cell is for unit frames and party frames. Details is our damage meter, which was down in the bottom right, shows us damage being done, and healing and all sorts of really good, useful information. Don't need ID tip, don't need a FPS tracker, just shows me what my frames per second is. We don't need Leatrix Plus. We'll keep that off for now. Spam filter, not important for new players. Little wigs, same thing as big wigs, but for dungeons. Mask is an add-on that makes my weak auras and some of the unit frames look the way that they do. It just adds some depth to them. Method raid tools, not super important for a new player right out the get-go. Same thing with mythic dungeon tools. Mini map button is just a small add-on that keeps all my buttons that would be on my mini map in one succinct folder. Plater is for nameplates. Raider IO is for tracking and viewing other people's Mythic Plus scores. Simple Combat Logger is for logging combat essentially automatically. Simulation Craft is for simming your character. We'll talk about that a lot later. TomTom helps with maps and waypoints. Twitch emotes, we're going to go ahead and turn that one off because it'll get me banned. Weak Aura Companion app, we'll talk about Weak Auras. That's the second add-on here. And then World Quest List, we don't need to talk about until max level. So I'm just going to hit Reload UI from the add-ons. And fundamentally, for a new player, you don't need any of this to really get started. We're working on the main account here, so we're going to keep this in here. We'll talk about weak auras and other UI enhancements a little bit later. You can go to a couple of resources. I'll pull up the next screen here. If you liked add-ons, you can go to you can download add-ons in multiple different ways. The most common one is through CurseForge. You may use this for some other games, but they have a World of Warcraft section here. You can use the CurseForge app, which is, you can't really see it here, but up in the top right, you can say, get the CurseForge app. It will download it onto your computer. You can upload, you can add and delete add-ons as needed, and there's a whole bunch of different sections of things that you can a whole bunch of different categories for different add-ons, maps, damage, all sorts of things, boss encounters, class specific add-ons, guild add-ons, all these different things. You don't need all of them, and obviously you don't need all of them. There's 14,000 plus of them, but there's only a select few that I think are essential. And those would be some sort of boss mod add-on. So being able to track boss timers, weak auras, details damage meter. I would say a bag add-on is pretty mandatory. And then some sort of nameplate add-on like Plater. We'll talk about what nameplates are. So a couple places you can get that, CurseForge, and then the other resource, which is where they host weak auras, is wago.io, wago.io. Here you can import weak auras, you can import add-ons. They also have a companion add-on, and then you can also load UI packs. So if you want to skip all the customization, you can go to wago.io to download packs from some of the top streamers, and it'll have all the instructions on how to do that. So rolling a monk, Megaset is a very famous Mistweaver monk. She has a pack that you can download, and you can see kind of like what that looks like and how it's all configured. And it'll guide you through the steps. So I would highly recommend the Wago UI packs. That's kind of like a one and done instead of specific configuration. And then there's also another site, WowUp, wowup.io. They also have a tool that you can install on your computer for add-on management. So not super important right now, though. What we want to do is just get what we need configured. So we'll change our bartender one. And then this weak aura pack that I have here in the middle, you can download specific weak aura packs. Oops, sorry, I should toggle back there. You can download specific weak aura packs from Wago. So if you go to Wago and then under the browse, you can browse weak auras, LVUI, Mythic Dungeon Tools, Plater nameplates, all these different profiles. And we're going to play a monk. So if I wanted a Windwalker monk one, I can go into browse, War Within, monk, and I can see some different configurations and packs. And essentially these exist to help you track your abilities. But we're not going to get too deep into that. We do want to get started with some gameplay here. So we're just going to very quickly move around some of our UI elements. And again, this first episode is going to be pretty fundamental because we're kind of starting over with what do I need to know to start, playing the game from like a new player perspective. So spinning crane kick, roll, flying serpent. I don't remember what I had Touch of Death as. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just moving some of my action buttons around to match what I have in my weak aura. So down at the bottom in your action bar, you're going to see all of your different abilities right out of the gate, right when you boost a character. So these abilities are essentially what allows you to attack and defend, heal, tank, whatever, perform the role of your character. So we have a bunch right out of the gate. And so I'm just trying to get them to line up a little bit. What I had. So basic sort of like menu and UI stuff for a new player. C on your keyboard will open the character panel. Character panel will show you your gear, your item level, which is a basic indicator of your ranking or your character's power. You'll have your main stats. So every class and role has different, they use a specific main stat from a pool. There's agility, intellect, and stamina. We're an agility user because we're a Windwalker monk right now. Strength, agility, intellect, and strength. We're an agility user because we're a Windwalker. So all of our gear over here, you'll see it has agility. And then it has stamina, which is your health pool, has armor, which is your physical damage reduction. And then it also has secondary stats. So critical strike, haste, and mastery are the ones that our character has right now. Critical strike, chance to deal bonus damage. Oop, I got to switch back over. Sorry. So I just rearranged some action bars, some abilities on my action bar. And then I hit C to open this character panel. And that is, this is where you can see your gear, your item level, and then on your items, you have main stat, stamina for health, critical strike, haste, mastery. Critical strike is the chance to deal increased damage. Haste is how quickly your global cooldown recovers and how quickly you can use your ability. It also impacts spell casting speed and energy regeneration for the monk. Mastery is going to be different depending on the specialization. Windwalker Monk has a mastery called Combo Strikes. Your abilities deal 80% more damage when they're not a repeat of the previous ability. Every specialization has a different mastery, and the mastery stat can be more valuable for some specializations than others that might prefer something like Haste or Critical Strike. And then the fourth stat that's not here, the fourth secondary stat, is called Versatility. Versatility is just a flat percent increase to damage and reduced damage taken. So where else can we go? So down on the bottom, we have our action bar. In the middle, we have our weak auras. We have this mostly lined up for us at this point. The other important menus and hotkeys are going to be B for your backpack and your inventory. The inventory here is broken up with a freshly boosted character. You have your main inventory slots, and then you have your reagent bag. Again, this is using an add-on called Baginator. Default will be individual bags that you can also combine into one bag. Other important menus are going to be P. P is going to open up your spell book. So this is where you have access to all of your different abilities based on your talent tree. So a couple abilities were just missing from what we had before. So I'm just going to drop those in on the screen here onto my action bars. Transcendence. Provoke is our taunt. I think that's everything that we need. And then the other important one is going to be N. So N is access to your talent tree. So your talent tree is a huge, expansive sort of skill allotment system. So as you're leveling from 1 to 70, you'll get talent points, which you can then distribute across this talent tree. So it's a little bit overwhelming if you're a new player and you just boosted a character and you're joining in with your friends. There's tons of resources out there for talent builds, which will just kind of show you the optimal path or the optimal choices for the type of content that you're doing. There is also a default starter build, which is what we start with. And then the talents that are available are broken into two major areas. So on the left, we have what's called the class tree. So these are all the talents that are always available for the monk, regardless of what specialization they are. And then on the right, we have the specialization talents. So Windwalker. So these are specific to my punching, kicking, melee specialization. If you click specialization down on the bottom, it's a little hard to see here, but next to spellbook, there's an icon that says specialization or a tab. It's going to bring up this menu that has the 3 specializations that I talked about before. Windwalker is our damage specialization. Brewmaster is our tank specialization. And when we change that, you'll see our class specialization, the options stayed mostly the same. The 2 that you start with can change. And then on the right side, our specialization or spec tree completely changed from Windwalker. So these are all of the talents that are related to the Brewmaster Monk. So to start out, I'll just sort of leave you with one resource. There's a couple really good resources for talent builds. The best resource, in my opinion, is a class Discord. Speaking of Discords, you can join my Discord, and I have a bunch of links to useful new player resources available there. The class Discords will have high-end, like end game builds, and they'll have a lot of people focused specifically on that class or specialization. There are two other resources that are really useful for new players. One of them is going to be Wowhead. It's wowhead.com. The other one is going to be Icy Veins. And on Wowhead, you can find resources for World of Warcraft, particularly class resources like right here, and then information about the patch. So the new patch 11.2, Ghosts of Koresh, all the things that are new to Season 3, Season 3 dungeons, Mythic Plus, the raid, Manaforge Omega, profession information. So there's a bunch of like really good guides here that you can use. The most important ones for a new player would be the class guides. So for example, if I wanted to find more information about Windwalker, I can go here. I can read through a cheat sheet that sort of talks a little bit about the class and the specialization. So this could be really good if you're on the fence about what class you want to play. And then it'll show you the talent build for raid, for Mythic Plus, and for delves in the open world. So we're going to copy this talent build because we're going to be doing some leveling. There is also a tab down at the bottom for leveling. I would say you could absolutely use that if you want to. Sorry, I'll pop in here. So just under races, there's a little tab that says leveling. It'll give you a recommended leveling build down here. The really nice thing about Monk is that Babylonius will show you the way that you want to path. And this is true for a bunch of different other specializations, but they'll talk about why you want to path in that direction. So you want to get these 4 talents first because they're self-explanatory. You want to get as close to Storm, Earth, and Fire as soon as we can. Then we pick up a couple talents that improve Rising Sun Kick. So really, really good resource in the leveling section. And then the class guides overall, there's tons of information here that you can take a look at, including a cheat sheet, which will just tell you a little bit about the class and what you need to know. So Wowhead class guides, would definitely recommend those. We'll toggle back over to WoW. I just imported that talent tree. So to import, I just went to Delves to Open World, and then I clicked on Copy Talents. It copies it to your clipboard. You go back into World of Warcraft, and in the bottom left, you click on Import. In this little tab here, you paste, and then you can name it what you want, and it'll bring it in there. Leveling 1 to 70, you unlock all or the spec tree. And from level 70 to 80 in the War Within expansion, you're going to unlock the hero talent. So we're going to unlock one of those pretty quickly. All right. So to start off, questing, getting into the world, it's going to start you right on the track with this one quest here. It's going to actually give you a teleportation scroll, which I think is a little bit confusing. But to introduce you into the War Within campaign, what they want to do is send you down to Silithus to meet with Jaina Proudmoore. She's one of the main characters in World of Warcraft. So we're going to click on this teleportation scroll. It's going to immediately take us away from the city. But for new players, what they want to do is they want to catch you up on the story that's happened so far. So if you start from level 1, you go through the tutorial to level 10, and then you get sent into the Dragonflight expansion, which is the expansion that happened just prior to the War Within. If you use your boost, you start here in Stormwind with a quest to start the War Within expansion, and it's going to want you to go through the campaign to get an understanding of the story and to unlock the different features. My account, because it is a progressed account, will likely have some things already unlocked, but I'll make sure to call those out. So the first thing that you want to do when you get into the game and you boost your characters, you want to start working your way towards through the campaign. You'll see there's these specific icons. These like chevron shapes will indicate a campaign quest, whereas a plain exclamation point or question mark will indicate a side quest. So you can see it just moved from Jaina over to Thrall. I can click on Thrall and I can get a quest. Because I've done this before, I've done multiple characters, I can skip this and go straight to the new zone. We're not going to do that, obviously. We're not going to read every quest, but we're going to watch every cutscene.
I hear no one's seen him for
So we'll follow along here.
He has to.
And I'll give like basic story things about the War Within.
Magni, we've been trying to
So the War Within takes place after Dragonflight.
Leave me alone.
And we start off by going into the Chamber of Heart, which is where Magni has resided for the past couple expansions. Magni is a Dwarven king character, and he is the speaker of Azeroth. Azeroth is the planet that World of Warcraft exists on. We didn't see it outside in Silithus, but there's a big sword that goes through Azeroth, and was put there back in the end of Legion, a previous expansion. Ever since then, Azeroth has cried out and communicated through Magni, and he's kind of a major part in this beginning quest line. And so we're trying to get him sort of like back in touch by activating these consoles, and this is like a good sort of basic quest here. You'll see things glow in the room around you. You want to click on those. You'll see that your objectives up in the top right will update with what you need to do next, and your mini map will also change.
Azeroth, speak to me. What are you trying to tell us? I can hear her voice. I can see it. The place she's calling us to.
Where, Magni? Where must we go?
It's called
Magni!
He's alive, but barely.
The time for dreaming is over. Be careful who you trust. Control your power. Hopefully we can revive him. Meet us in Dalaran when you're able.
So the next location that it's going to send us to is the Mage City of Dalaran. Welcome. And Dalaran was a main questing or a main city hub.
He tried to commune directly.
And it's the home of the mages of the Kirin Tor. So we'll meet a couple of them right now. Khadgar, he's not a mage of the Kirin Tor anymore, I believe. He's not part of that council, but he is an extremely powerful mage. Then this is Magni's daughter, Moira. There's a whole story there as well. And then we're going to go grab Moira's son, who's another major character in The War Within. We didn't talk about mounts yet, so I don't know what they give you for a mount. That would be something interesting to see. We leveled through Dragonflight in the last one, so they gave us a dragon riding mount, and then of course I have mounts that are available on my account. There is, a mount that you might get from the pre-order, or sorry, not the pre-order, but from buying the expansion, the War Within expansion.
They must be folk
If not, I would assume that the War Within or the character boost came with some sort of mount. You can open your collections by holding down on Shift and pressing P. That's the hotkey for your collections, and you can see multiple tabs here: mounts, pet journal, which are small little battle pets, toy box, heirlooms, which you don't have to worry about, appearances, which is for transmogrification, and then campsites, which is your character selection screen. Unlock different ones there.
The Queen Regent of the Dark Iron Clan.
Just going to change a couple options really quick. They really did a great job updating the options in
A vision.
the most recent expansion. When they developed edit mode, you can search for different options. You can work through here. One thing I would recommend turning on for new players, the auto loot option. That's going to allow you to loot multiple enemies at one time. It's going to put that loot straight into your bag instead of having to like sift through it and click it. But you can also find options for controls like your mouse, interface like names and nameplates, action bars. You can enable and disable additional action bars, combat, social. You can block guild invites, block trades, all sorts of things. And then you also, of course, have like your graphical options. So two things to turn on right away would be auto loot. And then one of the other things that I recommend folks change is movement. By default, your movement is bound, move forward is W, move backwards is S, and the default is A and D are turn left and turn right. So what that looks like is this. You could see before I was using my mouse to turn my camera. The default actually has your keyboard turn your character, and as you can see, I'm kind of at the liberty of the game to turn it quickly, whereas if I right click on my mouse, I can turn it very quickly. I can pivot that around. So my other recommendation for all new players is to do it right out of the get-go, is to go into options, key binding, movement keys, and move A to strafe left and D to strafe right. That is going to make it so that instead of turning your camera and your character moves right and moves left. And then you can use your right mouse button to turn your camera. And that's just going to make you much more reactive, a lot quicker.
The Titan installation mentioned in Alderman's records.
Talk to Khadgar.
Once more, Dalaran is called to the aid of our world. Magni?
These are the
Azeroth
Curator.
showed me a vision of a city in flames in the ancient lands of Kaz Algar. Her voice was desperate. We must act quickly.
Archmage Drendon has proposed, and the Council agrees, that we bring the full force of Dalaran to this Kaz Algar. Make ready, our people, and prepare the city for teleportation. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together.
All right.
I was hoping to see
One of the common things that they've done in expansions past is they'll actually, so it's a mage city and it's hard to tell so far, but it floats up in the sky and it can move around. So you want to pick up the next quests to help the citizens of Dalaran. Ran will have one to check on the Algari expedition, and then we want to strengthen the wards. So basically, Magni heard Azeroth crying out, got shocked, and then but saw something, so we want to head in that direction, and we're preparing Dalaran for transport. So if you have one, you can mount here in Dalaran in the city. You should unlock skywriting shortly. You might not have that as a completely brand new player, but we're just going to start by strengthening the wards. we'll just do it like a new player would experience. We'll just follow along on the ground. You'll unlock flying very, very, very quickly, so don't worry about that. Want to nail down his shells so they don't move when we move Dalaran. Another ward to place. So up in the top right, we've used this a couple times. We used it to teleport to Silithus, and we're using it for this quest. But if an item is involved in a quest, it will show up on the right side. You can see this little wand, which is what we're using to strengthen the wards. You can also find that item in your inventory. So here it is in our inventory, tuning wand, and you can drag it down and onto one of your action bars and use it there as well.
What brings you here?
Eat some of the food. I'm worried it'll go bad in the new climate. Another ward. So here I could just hit Shift 3. And I mentioned hitting Shift 3. So one of the other things that you'll probably see that's a bit of a differentiator from you when you started, if you're starting fresh here, is the bindings. So I have rebound my keyboard and my action bars to things that are a little bit more comfortable for me, give me a little bit more flexibility. Your default key bindings will be 1 through 10 on the keyboard, and then I believe even 1 through 12. It'll include the little dash and then the plus sign or the equal sign. You can rebind action bars in the game by opening up your options and clicking on key bindings. This is what we did for movements keys, but you can do it for action bars as well. And then you can also do it in an add-on like Bartender if you need to. I recommend, since we rebound A and D to strafe, that frees up Q and E. So I like to keep those as buttons that I use frequently, since E is right next to my index finger. And then F and R are also very close, and they don't have any specific counterpoints or other keybinds, conflicting keybinds, so you can use those as well. And then I also keep 1 through 5 since those are close, and I add in like tilde, and then you can also add modifiers. So for example, my second row of action bars is all the same as the first row, but it's modified by Shift. So if I hit Shift E, I'll cast this ability, or Shift R, and I'll cast that ability. So.
Good to see you.
We're ready to depart.
It's even more amazing than I'd imagined. But my visions were of fire and war.
Something's wrong. I need to find Khadgar. Drendon. Where's the rest of the council?
Drendon's been dead for
years. All this time. And you never once sensed my presence. Oh, it's not time for that yet. But if you're so eager for a fight, perhaps this can keep you occupied. Until we meet again, Valeria.
So a couple new characters in that one. You might recognize them from like the opening cinematic. So this is Illyria. She's essentially like a void ranger archetype. And she's got her whole backstory and history. that we're not going to get into now. The other character that you saw was Xalatath. Xalatath is the main antagonist in The War Within. You've probably seen her all over the art for this expansion, and she's kind of like the main baddie here. So it was a trap, the whole thing. Xalatath sort of like fed that memory into Magni. Spoiler alert. And now all of these spiders are coming to attack Dalaran. And so we need to do what we can to defend. And this is another common quest that you'll see here. It's like, people call it fill up the bar. Basically, you are just doing activities in the area. We also have another part of this quest, which is to save citizens. So we need to find citizens to save, and we need to kill spiders to fill up the bar. And what's in front of you now, these sort of like health bars above the enemies, these are called nameplates. And Blizzard has default nameplates, but they're pretty bad. So that is what the add-on plater does. It gives this customization. And I'm pretty positive we haven't changed the profile yet on this character. So this is just default, a default profile. And this is what you see. So you get access to things like their cast bar when they're casting a specific ability, their buffs and their debuffs that are being applied to them. Buffs are what you would find in the top right. These are enhancements, which are good for us, but enemies can get buffs as well, that can be removed by certain classes. And then debuffs, hey, come back. Debuffs are negative impacts that can influence us. So like right now we have a debuff that prevents us from flying, and then we can also inflict debuffs on enemies as well. A subset of buffs and debuffs are overtime abilities. So there are damage overtime abilities. Certain classes like Shadow Priest or certain specs, Shadow Priest and Affliction Warlock, really they do their damage by applying damage over time effects. So very quick cast spells, mostly instant cast spells that will deal damage every second or every half second, depending. And then heal over time, kind of the reverse of that. So the Druid Restoration specialization does a lot of its healing through heal over time abilities. And those are just different versions of buffs and debuffs. Nope, we're done here. So we're going to go back to Illyria. We filled up the bar. So we're just looking on our map. We're looking for an arrow. And also open our map just to double check. So we're going to start heading that direction.
I am on the hunt.
Save Dalaran.
There could still be more survivors. With me, champion.
Okay, so a huge group of people just teleported out. All those people that we saved. But we haven't seen Khadgar. So we'll go take a look. Looks like we're blocked that way. Looks like we just got split.
Cut through the sewers and find Khadgar.
Go through the sewers. Sewers are right over here. Oh look, it's Anduin Wrynn. Anduin is the current king of Stormwind. He went through a little bit of
Let's rescue them.
a moment with one of the enemies from the Shadowlands called the Jailer. And so he's been kind of trying to find himself. He's lost his way. And sometimes the main characters of Warcraft will have similarities or align with certain classes. So Anduin used to be a priest. If you've ever played Hearthstone, you've probably seen Anduin Wrynn as one of the priest class icons or portraits. he's now kind of taken on a little bit of a different. His
Showed me a path
his
through
father
here. Sword
passed away in the Legion expansion, and he's taken up his sword. So he's kind of trying to find himself right now.
The exit should be on the right. And here's our exit. I will help if I can. Will I be forgiven? I'll get them to safety. Try to find Khadgar.
Oh, we're not going that way. Seek a different exit. The other hotkey that I forgot to mention is M. M is for map. That's how I keep popping this open. And then what I'm doing here in between, right, when I'm fighting, I'm using my primary abilities. I'm using Tiger Palm and Blackout Kick and Rising Sun Kick and all the abilities that deal damage. And then in between, I'm trying to go as quick as I can. So I'm using movement abilities like Roll and Tiger's Lust.
High in the sky and nowhere to flee. Gather all you can find. Bring them below. Xalatath has plans for them.
Okay. Oh, looks like somebody else is already fighting this.
There you are, champion.
That's a little unfortunate. I would have liked to fight that myself. Ooh, that's cool. I don't know what that does. We'll open that up. What you saw just there was an example of phasing in World of Warcraft. So like we were like watching a cutscene, and then we were into sort of like a specific part of the game where it required us to kill this big mob. This guy, this Tauren, Matumbo, had already been there and was killing that. When we completed the camp cutscene, it brought us into his phase where he was already attacking the mob. And you'll see this happen from time to time with different in different areas. If there's a lot of people or there's a little people, you'll see phasing has sort of different effects, and it's supposed to prevent lagging, which is exactly what I'm doing here. I don't understand why, so hopefully it stops after we turn in this quest.
We meet at last.
Xalatath, I
It's not.
presume.
This city is home to such power. All squandered by the Kirin Tor. I'll put it to much better use.
Like hell you will.
There you are.
Illyria!
Get out of my head! Khadgar?
This isn't the real fight.
Goodbye, Guardian.
Take a look after the cinematic. I'm not sure what's going on. This will be another valuable new player moment, although we're going through a loading screen here. All right, seems like we're back to normal. Not sure what was having an impact there, but is what it is. So Zalatath messed up the city, and we are down in its rubble.
Champion, to me.
And here's Jaina. She teleported out with the rest of the folks, and we're still fighting spiders. So Jaina and Thrall want some help. Kill the saboteurs.
Rescue who you can along the way.
And aid the survivors.
War to chosen soldiers. Destroy them.
Help! I can't move. Oh, Addons, are you all right?
Yes. Thanks to Grandad teaching me stone form. Wait. Where is he? Excellent! We've got to find him.
Addons, wait!
And very soon after this, we are going to unlock flying. We'll talk about it through the flying tutorial that's about to happen in just a couple of quests. My recommendation when questing is to always look for always look for the little dots. The little dots tend to indicate a specific thing that needs to be done. So the little dots in this case are aiding the crash survivors, and we also have to kill 12 Nerubians. So you want to head for the dots.
These relics must be destroyed before they overload.
Complete those, and while you're doing that, make effective use of your time by killing mobs on the way. And then he just gave us one new quest, which is to destroy damaged arcane relics, because it was a city of mages. It was full of relics. So we've aided all the crash survivors. Now we're looking for these specific arcane relics.
Get moving. I'll take care of the wounded here.
So we need one more, and we need 2 more spiders. I don't see any that way. There's one over there, so we'll just kill our 2 more spiders. Well, the character boost kind of gives you a decent character. When we played through this in Season 2, starting totally fresh, I don't think our gear was all 463 item levels, so we're kind of killing stuff really quickly. This is an example of a map feature that you'll see here. So this is an icon on your map for a rare mob, this malfunctioning spire. It should say rare when we mouse over it, but rare mobs can often have like unique items, toys, transmog, or even just like some like decent pieces of gear. This one didn't. This one had quartz growth and crafting reagent, so that's okay. We'll fight another one. I'll show you what that looks like.
Zolotath will face the might of the Alliance.
I'm also realizing one of the hidden unfortunate side effects of... Okay, so this quest will unlock skywriting for us. So we need to find Magni and defeat Queensguard Xerix. One of the unfortunate side effects of completing this on my main account is an achievement that you get when you level characters. So when you level characters through the War Within campaign, they introduced a new achievement that will help you level characters faster. So for every character that you get to maximum level, so level 80, you will get an experience boost that will improve the experience that you gain for all subsequent characters. So the first time you level a character, you get an additional 5%, 5% up to 25%.
We can't hold them!
Storm Riders! To ground, my soldiers!
Trespassers! My directive is to protect the Isle of Dorne. Leave at once.
Trespassers? You saw us fall from the sky and fight for our lives. We need aid.
What you need matters not. Your presence is not authorized by the Titans.
Titans?
Now don't you be talking to my daughter like that, you great stone!
An earthen, hardened like a diamond. A Thragar.
You've seen others? Akin to me?
I have only heard stories of their heroics. It is a sign from the Titans.
Laddie, it weren't Titan magic that...
What he means to say is, yes, of course, and we'd be honored to...
Dornegal! What disaster have you brought to our city, Outlanders? New directive. We must return to the city. All of us.
Okay, a couple things to unpack here. So every time we go into a new expansion, they always call us some sort of name, like Outsiders or whatever it might be. So these are the Earthen, and they're a race. We unlock them as what's referred to as an allied race a little bit later on. It's a different version of a dwarf, but they are available on, I believe, both Horde and Alliance. And we kind of crash landed on their sort of like home, basically the Isle of Dorne here. And Dornegal is where we're headed. This is the major city for the War Within expansion. Major cities are important. They are where you have like banks and auction houses, profession trainers. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the second thing to unpack here is we're going to unlock skywriting. So skywriting is a form of transportation that is used to be flying or flying. Skywriting was introduced in Dragonflight as dragon riding, and then people liked it so much they decided to keep it. So when you equip, when you unlock skywriting and you mount up on any mount that can fly, your action bar will change. You can see down here I have a couple different abilities. You can double tap spacebar to just take off from the ground, and you have this little bubble icon down at the bottom. It is movable if you open up edit mode. Oh, I thought it was. I guess it's not. Oh yeah, there it is. Encounter bar. It is movable, so you can move it around if you don't like where it is. And your action bars will change. So you'll get different abilities. You will be able to fly upward just by pushing the space bar. You can surge forward. You can also, that's going to consume one bubble. The bubbles are referred to as vigor. You can use whirling surge, which consumes 3 but pushes you forward a little bit more. And then you also have abilities to recharge your vigor. So second wind, you can push this. It has 3 charges. It'll restore a bubble of vigor, and then you can also stop, push the brakes.
I have failed in my oath.
So they'll teach you how to just fly up here using those abilities as part of that quest. We'll work our way into Dornegal. And Dornegal, as you can see, is taken over by spiders.
Reduce those spiders to ash.
This is another quest type. It's like a vehicle quest. Basically, you get into a vehicle. It's not always like a bird like this. Sometimes it's a ship, or could be anything really. And it'll give you a whole different action bar, and they'll ask you to fill up a bar by killing the Nerubian invaders. So you just want to look at what the quest objective is and try and complete it. There we go.
They are retreating. Well executed, Outlander. Now, I believe you and your friends have much to discuss.
So I mentioned the XP gain and the XP achievement. That is going to throw things off a little bit if you're just playing this as your first character. I'm going to level quicker than you are. You can see I'm getting 18,000 experience from turning in this quest because I've already leveled 4 other characters through the War Within campaign to max level, which gives me a level boost. Don't worry about that. We're going to go through the entire campaign. The campaign should get you to level 80 or very close to level 80. You have to do the entire campaign in order to unlock world quests, which you can see here. These won't be on your main your main map. So world quests and activities can only be unlocked by completing the War Within campaign. So we're not going to do any of those. We're just going to go through the campaign and level as far as we can.
So much chaos and destruction.
We have to regroup. Has anyone seen Khadgar?
No.
We will grieve him in time. But Thrall is right. Without reinforcements, we're at Xalatath's mercy. But no matter what she's planning, we must stop her.
Jaina and I will rally the Alliance and the Horde, but it will take some time for us to sail back here.
Right. In the meantime, we'll stay here and keep the survivors safe.
You will. Not me.
Illyria, we need your...
No, you don't. I can't keep anyone safe. But I can hunt down Xalatath. And make her pay.
Cool.
We will be back.
So this whole time we've been completing quests. We've been getting experience and gold, which are 2 of the most common quest rewards. Not a whole lot of gold, but decent amount. We've gotten 460 gold since we started. We've also been getting some gear. So you can see here in our bags, we just got a pair of pants with an item level of 434. There's 2 things to know when you're looking at gear, trying to figure out which ones you should equip. One of them is the overall item level. The higher the item level, the larger the amount of primary stat. So the higher the item level, the more agility. You'll see my 463 pants have 736. My 434 pants have 562. You can compare items by mousing over 1 and holding down the shift button. And then the second thing that you'll want to keep in mind when comparing items is secondary stats. Different classes and different specializations will get bigger benefits from different secondary stats. They're called stat priorities. And generally speaking, item level is king. So if you get a higher item level piece, you want to equip it. When we get all the way to the end game and we start getting gear of similar item levels, we'll want to get specific stats. But for the campaign and the beginning of end game, don't worry about it. So we've been getting gold, we've been getting XP, we've been getting some gear. None of this gear is high enough item level to replace what we started with. So we're just going to keep on going forward. We've also been getting some of these mysterious satchels. That is related to this Winds of Mysterious Fortune buff. This is also increasing our XP gained for levels 10 through 80. New players will get this buff. It is part of an event, and I don't know exactly when it ends. You can use the calendar up in the top right to see in-game events. And it looks like Winds of Mysterious Fortune ends next week. So if you're starting right now alongside me, you want to get in for season 3, take advantage, level your character here as much as you can. You're also going to get increased War Within reputation gains by 100%, Dragonflight reputation gains, which is the last expansion, by 200%, and quests and kills will grant you mysterious satchels. Inside the satchels, you can find gear. So we got a 415 chest piece. That's not good for us. And then we got a pristine mysterious satchel, which contained a nice weapon. Still not an upgrade for us. It contained a bag, 30 slot bag, which is great. You can add that into your character, although your boosted character will come with 30 slot bags. So you could save this for an alt if you want to. And it looks like we got some sausage. But right now we are completing a quest.
Look out!
It was Odin.
Called the Archive. Listen to a memory gem from one of the deceased earthen that we just cleared some rocks off of.
Into the Archive's repository.
And whenever you enter a new zone, one of the first things that you'll typically get is a quest that like shows you around. So Dornagal is the major city that we're in right now. We have a quest here to called the Stones of Dornagal, and it's going to introduce us to different points of interest in the city. So we have the first part of the quest, ask a guard about profession trainers. We'll talk about those in a second. And then we look at our map. We want to go over here. We want to speak to the flight master, the innkeeper, Bran, and somebody named Auditor Bowers. So we flew over on our flying mount, and we can see here is the flight master. You don't really need flight masters anymore. You can collect them, but flight points are basically useless because unless you want to hop on it and go to the bathroom or grab a drink, your flying mount and your skywriting are going to be the fastest way to get around in retail World of Warcraft. The innkeepers are useful, however. Innkeepers they sell food and water. Food restores health. You don't really need that anymore, but water restores mana, so if you're a healer, you want those. You can also bind your Hearthstone to an inn. So your Hearthstone is an item that returns you to wherever it's bound. So I'm going to, because we're going to be leveling in the War Within, I'm going to make this in my home. I'll click accept. And now when I mouse over my Hearthstone, it says returns you to Dornagal. Speak to an innkeeper in a different place. Change your home location. Pro tip from a famous WoW streamer called Dratnos: wherever your character is positioned when you click this button to bind your Hearthstone is the direction you will face when you use your Hearthstone. So the first thing I'm going to want to do once I use my Hearthstone is get out of the inn. So I pointed my character towards the door. I'll show you an example of that. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at professions. So we'll go talk about those real quick because we want to pick those up. You can see I'm pointing towards the door. But we're going to turn in this quest. And then vendors, you can sell your items to vendors. So like all this gear that we've acquired so far is low lower item level than what we have. We don't need the agility weapons. We'll keep the intellect staff just in case we want it, but we're just going to go ahead and sell these items to the vendor. Keep the health potions. We don't need the mana potion. We don't need the food, and we don't need the water.
Return.
So we talked to the innkeeper, we talked to the flight master, we asked the guard about professions. Then we're going to go talk to Bran Bronzebeard. This won't be the last time we talk to Bran. Bran is like the spokesperson for a new feature in the War Within. They're called delves. They're essentially dungeons, but they can be done solo, and they have no time limit. They're very straightforward. We will do a delve as part of the campaign in just a little bit. What new players probably won't see are these weekly quests. These weekly quests come available after you complete the campaign. And then before we go up to the top, we're just going to talk about professions really quick. So this area in Dornegal, just north of the foregrounds, is the profession area. In World of Warcraft, professions create items. There are professions that correspond to each armor type. Talk about armor types briefly. Each class can equip different armor. Priests, mages, warlocks all wear cloth. Classes like monks, rogues, death knight, or demon hunters wear leather. Druids also. Classes like shamans, evokers, and hunters wear mail armor. So think chainlink. And then warrior, paladin, DK, death knight wear plate armor. Leather workers craft leather armor and mail armor. Leather working is fueled by skinning, which allows you to skin creatures for hides and scales. Plate armor is created by blacksmiths. Blacksmiths also create like martial weapons. Think like swords, axes, stuff like that. It can be for intellect users, and it can be for strength users and agility users. Tailors create cloth armor, and there's a little bit more nuance to that as well. Like they don't just create cloth armor. The same with leather workers. They have other items that they can create. Enchanters allow you to enchant your gear with different added effects and bonuses. Jewel crafters craft jewelry and gems. Inscription or scribes learn inscription, and they can craft caster weapons like staves and offhands, but they can also craft different miscellaneous things like buffs that you can use in the raid, or ways to increase your profession knowledge, which we'll talk about way later. And then alchemy. Alchemy creates potions and flasks. Potions are instant use, like my health potion. You click it, it does something, it has a cooldown. Flasks are buffs that go onto your character, much like this Winds of Mysterious Fortune buff. They'll last for a longer amount of time. Those are all the crafting professions. I mentioned skinning. Skinning is one of the gathering professions. Skinning fuels leatherworking. Herbalism, picking flowers, fuels alchemy, and it fuels inscription. Mining, which is mining ore, fuels jewel crafting. They can break down the ore to look for gems. And it fuels blacksmithing. They can smelt the ore into bars. Enchanting and tailoring are self-sufficient. When you learn enchanting, you also learn disenchanting, which means that you can take gear that is of any rarity, green, blue, or purple, and you can disenchant that into corresponding materials. We've only seen green gear so far, but the rarities, green is sort of the lowest level, then blue, and then epic, which is purple. You've probably seen that in other video games. And tailoring, the materials for that are cloth. Cloth, when you learn tailoring, you can loot cloth off of humanoids. So there are different benefits to each profession. If you want to be a raider, your most efficient profession is probably going to be alchemy because it increases the duration of your flasks. Obviously, that pairs well with herbalism because you can pick the herbs and then you can turn those into potions. I did forget about one because it's an often forgotten profession, but there is a profession called engineering. It is also fueled by mining, and engineers can craft goggles, helmets, and bracers. And these bracers can have certain sockets that you can slot in additional effects. I'm going to pick up herbalism and alchemy because I want to get that increased flask duration, because my character is going to be focused on Mythic Plus dungeons and raids, and I want to save gold as much as I can instead of buying flasks. So,
my thanks for your patronage.
Last part of the quest, our little tour around the city. We're going to turn that in, and we'll move on here.
The Titans uplifted 4 wards. The Council Ward, the Storm Ward, the Stone Ward, and the High Speaker, to keep the edicts and build the Coreway and its fortress, Dornagal. But the Titans left, and the machines stopped. The Unbound abandoned the edicts, and the High Speaker retreated to the Ringing Deeps. And now, the machine speakers are cut off from us, and we have no means to fix the Coreway.
Okay.
Do you have an
Then it seems long past time you stood united. We need to find this Edelgone, rebuild your Coreway. I'm willing to be a liaison, if you be willing to speak with her.
If Merrick's wasn't Council Ward, I would have never agreed to do this. You do not.
This is another common trope that you'll see in
I have no hope for our success.
World of Warcraft. Usually we crash land into a new zone. People call us outsiders, but they're also like, there's something going on. They're like torn up and we need to unite them, or they have some common enemy that they haven't been able to overcome, and then we come in because we're big and strong and we've done this many times, and we solve their problems and help them build a better tomorrow.
Come on, Ebona. Stay with me. Personal directive. Prioritize the wounded. We cannot fight if unidentified. Another survivor from the crash?
I'm Moira, of the Dark Iron and Bronzebeard.
Baelgrim.
Stone Ward?
I am not the Stone Ward. You know that.
I know you abandoned your post.
And you abandoned us.
The Coreway was attacked. It must be repaired.
We were attacked too. You should have protected.
I can see there is some history between you. But if you haven't noticed, the Nerubians have you both in their sights. You need each other, age-old drama or not.
We're not going to go too deep into like the backstory and the lore. There's just like, there's too much in World of Warcraft to really
Then you'll be the first storm rider it's seen
dig
for
into here.
centuries.
There's a bunch of great YouTube channels that talk specifically about Warcraft lore. Noble is a very well-known YouTube creator. I would recommend checking out his channel. Also, the Karazhan Library will give you a synopsis of the story so far to kind of catch you up. But there's tons of stories, so like you can take a look in the raid journal and see. I mean, we started with Classic, we went into the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, and the story has essentially been continuous since sort of like the Burning Crusade and the Wrath of the Lich King. Campaigns and like main story quests didn't really come into play until a little bit later, but there's definitely some a lot of lore throughout and a lot of big events that really start happening in like the last 7 or so expansions. And you can play all these if you level a character. There's a couple different ways that you can level. The new player experience forces you into the Dragonflight expansion, because that was the expansion that happened just before the War Within. Once you level your first character, though, you can level all of your other characters through different expansions, so you can learn and get a story for them. This game is huge. It's absolutely huge. There's plenty to do at endgame, which is the goal of this video series. It's leveling a character, it's getting into dungeons, it's getting into raids in the current season. However, you can go experience those by leveling different characters. You can collect mounts, you can collect transmog, you can go through the old raids and anything from Shadowlands and before. With a max level character, you're essentially a god, and so you go through and just kill things. You don't have to worry about dying, you don't have to worry about fight mechanics, and you can just like experience what the raids look like, and you can get
Alright, let's do this. Through here.
You can get different appearances, mounts, transmogs, and that's like hours and hours and hours of content. So we're at the introduction to delves right now. So this is the campaign quest that focuses on delves. Your companion is Bran Bronzebeard. Yours will start at level 1. Not super important. The only thing that you need is to pick the role. So Bran can be a DPS, a healer, or a tank. For this one, for the rank 1 delve, I would recommend DPS Bran.
Glad to see Adokon finally sent us some help.
Inside each delve will be a one-time quest. You can pick that up at the start. There's also an area where you can repair and you can view their supplies and change their loadout. So if you're finding that the delve is a little too tough for you, you can change Bran to a healer and he'll drop healing potions on the ground. We go into the delve, we start by talking to the NPC, and then the first requirement is to pick up this item that acts as a grappling hook for us.
Step in those webs. Nerubians might pop out if you do.
Bran will give you plenty of helpful tips throughout the dungeon, or throughout the delve, like don't stand in AoEs, and we'll give you guidance on where to go. But just like a quest, you want to go through the delve and you want to complete the objectives. So we are rescuing miners, and we need to use the grappling hook once. So I just used it on that one.
Look around. There's treasure here.
And Bran says it. He says, don't step in the webs. It'll summon Nerubians, but you can also damage the eggs, and that will make the webs recede. You can use a ranged ability to not step in them. And while we're going through this, we can finally, I guess, talk a little bit about like rotation and abilities. So your abilities can be broken down into a couple different categories. First of all, you have single target and AoE damaging abilities. You have ranged and melee abilities. Every class, I believe, every class has some form of ranged ability. Even though I am a melee DPS, I have an ability called Crackling Jade Lightning that just allows me to target something at a distance and deal damage to it. You'll have your core rotational abilities. So the monks, like Windwalker Monk, the whole deal is because of the mastery to not hit the same ability twice. we want to be alternating. So my core basic rotation is using Tiger Palm, which consumes energy. Every class and spec will have different resources. Monks use energy. Rogues and feral druids also use energy. Some classes use mana. Some classes use shamans use Maelstrom. Some of it you build up and then spend it. Some of it starts capped like energy, and then as you spend it, it decreases. And so my core rotational abilities are Tiger Palm, Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and Fist of Fury. And then I also have, these are single target and AoE abilities. Fist of Fury is an AoE, Tiger Palm and Rising Sun Kick are single target abilities. You can see that by looking in the spell book or mousing over it. So Tiger Palm, strike with the palm of your hand, dealing physical damage. Whereas Fist of Fury says pummels all targets in front of you. So we're just going to sneak on through here. You don't have to kill it. It's really just about doing the objectives as they appear. You don't have to kill everything in a delve. And then my AoE abilities consist of Spinning Crane Kick, which consumes Chi. We'll talk about Chi in just a second. Whirling Dragon Punch, Strike of the Windlord. And then you have abilities that are called cooldowns. So the cooldowns for Windwalker Monk, cooldowns would be anything that's like 45 seconds or above. That has a cooldown of 45 seconds or above. So like these core abilities all cost basic resources and have little to no cooldown. So Tiger Palm, it's just 1 second delay. And you can cast it again, whereas Rising Sun Kick has a 7-second cooldown.
And we'll follow behind.
Cooldowns usually have longer cooldowns. So you can see here, Storm, Earth, and Fire has a cooldown of 1.5 minutes. The tooltip in the bottom right is what shows me that. Whoa. What the heck? And then my other cooldown, Invoke Zuen the White Tiger, has a 2-minute cooldown. So these are like when you really want to do damage, when you're fighting tougher enemies. That's what you want to be pushing. This stuff is dying really, really quickly, so I'm not actually pushing it that hard or using my cooldowns. We'll get to a boss at the end of this and we'll use them. And then because there are so many abilities, there's typically an optimal rotation or a sequence in which you want to push these buttons and use these cooldowns to their maximum effectiveness. You can find rotational tips on the Wowhead guide, so I would check there. So my 2 resources as a monk are energy and chi. So my abilities cost energy and chi. Tiger Palm costs 60. You can see my yellow bar goes down. And then but it also generates 2 chi, which I can then use on other abilities like Blackout Kick, which uses 1 chi, or Rising Sun Kick, which uses 2, or Fist of Fury, which uses 3 to deal additional damage and keep my rotation going. So this is an example of balancing energy and chi to do the most amount of damage. So a little mini game inside that. So here we're going to go in, we're going to push our 2 major cooldowns, Zuen and Storm, Earth, and Fire. And we take care of the boss nice and swiftly. So we are done with the delves. The delve. Once we're finished here, Bran will go and unlock the little delve vaults with treasure inside. And you can loot these chests at the end. They gave me a spark already? That's hilarious. We'll talk about sparks way later. In the delve, you also see these like little urns. When season 3 officially starts next week, they'll actually include Bran XP, which will level your Bran up higher than level 1. And then you can leave the delve by clicking on that copter and just sort of walk it out. Say, are you ready to leave? We'll say, yep. And delves come in different levels. You probably saw that when we first started here. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. In order to unlock the further tiers on your account one time, you have to level these up. And then to get past tier 4, you actually have to be at level 80 and complete the Kaz Algar main story campaign. So delves are another thing that are locked behind the campaign for a new player. The higher the level, the better the rewards. And we'll talk about those rewards when we hit level 80. As a new player, if you continue this on, because we will stop streaming in probably about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, your real focus should just be on... where'd he go? He ran away. Your real focus should just be on completing the campaign and leveling up. You will reach a certain level threshold just by completing the campaign. If you are not at level 80 by the time you're entirely done, you can get XP in a couple different ways. You can complete dungeons, and we'll do dungeons in our next video. You can also, these individual exclamation points, these all indicate side quests. So you won't have world quests open, but you will have side quests available. Side quests are going to teach you a little bit about the lore of that specific area. So you can see those scattered around on your map. And then you can also complete delves. Delves reward experience, brand experience, and they will give you items as well, and a little bit of gold. Throughout this, we've actually leveled up once, so we've unlocked hero talents. Hero talents are available on your talent tree. They start at level 71, they go all the way to 80. You unlock all of them, and you can switch between 2 whenever you want. So each specialization has 2 available hero talents. You can read them, you can read through the talents, you can activate whichever one you want. I'm gonna activate, I don't know, Conduit, I guess, because it gives me a button that I can press. And you'll go through the leveling experience, you'll unlock all these different talent points. So you can really pick whatever you want in terms of the specific abilities. Some of them add power. For example, Tiger Palm has a chance to summon Zwen, to just swipe at my ally, and when I press Zwen, it's guaranteed my next Tiger Palm will summon him. Others can be a little bit utility based, so deal 10% more damage. Yeah, so your movement speed is increased 75% during Celestial Conduit. A little bit more utility based, or Fortifying Brew grants you an Absorb Shield for 25% of your maximum health. I would just really, you're going to get them all and you're going to get them quick. So I would just pick one that you like, work your way down to the bottom, because that's going to unlock a capstone. And then you can fill in the rest. So I'm just going to go straight down on this character. But like I said, it does not matter. So. And like I said, you can toggle in between each one. So if I wanted to switch over to Shadow Pan from Conduit of the Celestials, I can do that. And I can pick a different talent, and it'll give me a different core base ability. So read the tooltips. I would definitely recommend that. I would also recommend, as a new player, when you're not playing or when you want a little break or whatever, you can find you can find tons of information on those Wowhead guides. I would recommend learning and reading about every talent. One of the downfalls of the character boost is the fact that you don't get to allocate your talent points individually. You can go in here and just start fresh with a new loadout. I'll call it test. And you can click this button to refund all of your talent points. And you can work through, read them, learn about the different abilities. The interesting thing about talent trees and talent points in retail World of Warcraft is there are certain gate thresholds. So in order to reach this second level, I need to spend 8 talent points in the beginning. and you will not have enough talent points to get every talent. So you do have to make some decisions that will define your builds. And all of that is illustrated in the guides, especially the leveling talents. Once you spend the required amount of points, you'll have access to the next area. You will have to get the prerequisite talents in order to unlock those. Square talents are abilities that will appear or can be dragged onto your action bar. Circle talents are passive effects that impact these abilities. So for example, this is the talent Strike of the Windlord, which gives us an active ability that costs 2 chi. This ability below will allow Strike of the Windlord to grant us 4 stacks of Thunder Fist, and an additional stack for each additional enemy struck. Thunder Fist discharges upon melee strikes, dealing nature damage. So there's a ton of complexity, a ton of depth in there that you can definitely learn about and read about. But if you just want to get started, it'll start you with a starter build, and then you can go ahead and pick from there. So I think this is going to be the end of our first episode. I'll hit everybody with just a couple of updates. So in the video description, I'm going to have a link to my Discord, which is becoming a small community for new players to ask questions, to help each other, to group up. I'll also add those to my Twitch and YouTube channels. I will link to the other video series that I did that starts off at level 1 and goes through the entire new player experience. In case you want to, or you are starting from the beginning, feel free. Check that out. And then in terms of like a schedule or a cadence, my hope with this season is to just publish a video once per week, about a 2-hour video session of me leveling this character up, going through the War Within Season 3, getting gear, reaching our goals, 3,000 Mythic Plus rating. We'll talk about that later. And the achievement for raid called Ahead of the Curve. So you can look for about a video per week on the channel. If you liked this and you want to follow along as we level up this character and see how we do, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps. Huge motivator. I appreciate the folks that hopped on to watch the YouTube stream. I hit an all-time high of about 18 viewers. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you want more than this, if you want to just, this video series is going to come out, like I said, once per week. There's tons of resources out there. Start with Wowhead, start reading, ask in the Discord, and just high-level overview of what you probably want to do as a new player on at least a boosted character. Complete the War Within campaign. That's going to unlock the Season 3 campaign that takes us into Koresh. So during that campaign, the War Within leveling campaign, you'll learn about the world that we're in. You'll go through the Isle of Dorn. You'll go down into the Ringing Deeps, which is a whole nother zone we haven't even gotten into yet. You'll go into another zone called Hallowfall, and you'll end in Ashgahat. It's going to teach you about the different peoples and the denizens of the War Within, the different races and enemies and allies. And then each expansion has multiple seasons. So season 1, we had 1 raid and 1 major enemy, and we fought in Ashgahat. Season 2, we had a new raid and a new major enemy, and we fought in the Undermine. And now in season 3, starting next week, we'll be able to go into a brand new raid called the Manaforge Omega, and that's in a whole new zone. So you can complete the first leveling campaign, maybe do some side quests, maybe do some dungeons to reach level 80. And then what you want to do is launch right into the campaign for season 3, which will take you into Koresh. There'll be a quest in Dornogal when you log in after hitting level 80. You might have to do a couple other campaign quests. You will see the campaign when you open your map in the top right. So this is where you can look to see what steps you're on and where you need to go next. I would say just keep following this. When you complete the campaign in Koresh, it's going to give you item level 643 gear. So that's going to be 200 item levels higher than what I am right now. And it's going to allow you to get into heroic dungeons. And you can do heroic dungeons, get more gear. You can start doing the lower difficulties of the raid. You can start doing low level Mythic Plus dungeons by then. They come out on August 12th. And you can start gearing up your character, and then you can really pursue whatever you want in terms of a final goal. There's, like I said, there's a ton you can do in World of Warcraft. You can do raids, which is large multiplayer content. You can do dungeons, which is small multiplayer content, 5 people. Raids can be anywhere from 10 to 25. Mythic raiding is the highest difficulty. That's 20 people precisely. You can also PvP. PvP has multiple avenues as well. You can do battlegrounds, which are large-scale fighting. You can do arena, which is small team battles. You can collect transmog, different outfits. I'll show you examples. All these different items and sets you can find in your collection. Shift P. You can go back into old content and get old sets. The Monk came out in Mist of Pandaria, so a lot of the sets start back then. But you can go into all the old expansions and collect armor sets. You can go back into all the old expansions and build out your mount collection. Tons of really cool mounts that are available from previous expansions. All sorts of different stuff. So really the world is your oyster. You can also roleplay as well. There are certain servers that are available for folks that like to role play and really get into your character. That's not sort of what I do. I don't do PvP either, so I might recommend finding another content creator if you're interested in role playing or PvP. They're all over YouTube, so just take a look for them. But for just getting into the game, doing dungeons, doing raids, and quote unquote beating the game, you can definitely follow along, and we'll get there together. But thanks for watching. I hope everybody has a really good night. We're going to be doing, like I said, 1 video per week, so you can keep an eye on those on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to work on some other videos as well, just answering questions and FAQs and stuff like that, so keep an eye there. And thanks again for watching. Thanks for the chatters that